I never imagined my life would change when I heard my daughter's heartbreaking cry for help. It's a sound that can still send shivers down my spine. It echoed through the house like a ghost, thick with desperation. I rushed down the dimly lit hallway, my heart hammering, each beat a frantic warning. Panic clawed at my throat. What could have happened? I found her in the living room, shadows clinging to the corners. My beautiful 10-year-old, Amelia, sat on the floor, her face streaked with tears. The room felt heavy, almost suffocating. There was something wrong, something beyond her usual woes. I could feel a tight knot in my chest as I crouched beside her, my hands trembling, desperate for comfort. She was staring at an old, dusty box I had tucked away in the attic, a relic of family history, full of my late grandmother's belongings. Every creak of the wooden floor under my feet betrayed the balance of calm I was trying to maintain. I knew what the box symbolized: painful memories, buried secrets. But there was something else. "What's wrong, honey?" I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. She pointed, trembling. I looked down, and my heart sank. Inside the box lay a faded photograph, its edges torn. It was of a woman I barely recognized but felt tethered to me, grandmother's sister, a woman shrouded in mystery, whispered about in the family but never spoken to. Amelia clutched the paper. Her tiny fingers traced the outline of the woman's face, wide-eyed and horrified. "Mom, why didn't you tell me about her?" she cried. Her questions hung in the air, heavy like the weight of unspoken fears. Why hadn't I? I had buried those memories, thinking they were just old stories. But Amelia's innocent probing dragged them back into the light. I felt a chill run through me. The answer was a tight-lipped secret that I didn't understand, perhaps didn't want to face. Her name was Lila, I managed to say, my voice shaky. She had a hard life. The silence between us thickened with dread. I could feel eyes watching from the corners, shadows of ghosts from our past. The room felt smaller. The air was charged. Why was she so sad? Amelia asked, her voice quivering, her bright eyes now dimmed by the weight of history. I wished I had answers, but they were lost in time like those faded photographs. Did I even know the truth? I could feel a cold sweat forming on my brow. Suddenly, a crash echoed from the kitchen. My stomach twisted. What was happening? I jerked my head towards the sound, the house groaning with unspoken secrets, confusion swirling in my mind. I grabbed Amelia's hand tightly, feeling her little heartbeat but sensing an undeniable fear rise in me. I never expected this dark thread of our family story would unravel in front of my daughter. I took a deep breath, the air tasted of dread. "Stay here," I commanded, my voice stronger than I felt. But as I moved towards the kitchen, a sudden chill brushed past me, as if something unseen had slipped out, leaving an unsettling echo behind. What had I unleashed? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I stepped into the kitchen, the crumpled scene before me pushed me into a different plane of reality. The table was overturned, plates shattered around like lost dreams. A cold breeze swept through the room, carrying with it an otherworldly sensation, a feeling I couldn't quite pinpoint but that settled over me like a heavy fog. I glanced back towards the living room, where Amelia remained, her small frame silhouetted against the darkness, a beacon of fear. "Hello?" I called, my voice surrendering to an uncertain tremor. The silence that followed felt suffocating, pressing in from all sides. Then the sound of soft, deliberate footsteps, barely audible, like whispers, met my ears. They seemed to approach from the far corner of the room, just beyond the reach of the dim light. "Who's there?" I demanded, trying to mask my terror. I felt a rush of adrenaline but stood rooted to the spot, unable to look away from the shadows where the footsteps converged. They halted. A thin film of sweat coated my palms as I advanced cautiously, stepping over the scattered shards of porcelain that felt oddly like grave markers for an estranged part of my life. Then, out of the shadows, emerged a figure, ethereal and almost translucent, a woman. Her features mimicked those of the photograph Amelia had found. My throat tightened. Lila? I breathed, the name escaping my lips like a confession. This couldn't be real. My heart raced as she stepped nearer, the air around her shimmering. I could feel a wave of sorrow washing over me, almost pushing me back. Yes, she replied softly, her voice echoing in the recesses of my mind. I've come for what remains. What do you mean? I croaked, struggling to find my footing in the turmoil that enveloped me. You're dead. You can't be here. My mind flickered back to memories long buried, childhood whispers of Lila, figure unseen but always felt. She drifted forward, her eyes hauntingly familiar, filled with an ancient sadness. The choices of the past can bind the living in ways unseen. Your family buried the truth. It is time to unearth it. Before I could respond, the room began to spin, and I felt Amelia's small hand gripping mine tighter, her wide, terrified eyes searching my face for assurance. I turned to her, fighting to mask my fear. Amelia, stay close to me, I whispered, anchoring her beside me. What's happening, Mom? She asked, her voice a fragile thread in the tempest. Her innocence was a stark contrast against the shadow that loomed before us. Lila needs to tell us something, I murmured, feeling my heartbeat pound in my ears. The ghostly figure turned towards Amelia, and though I stood between them, I sensed the connection, the same lineage that had drawn Amelia into this family mystery. Lila's expression softened for a moment, revealing a glimmer of warmth that was unsettling against her spectral form. We are connected, child, she said, her voice now soothing like a soft lullaby. You carry the weight of our family's silence. But you have the power to release it, to find the peace that has long been sought. Amelia squeezed my hand, and I could feel her trembling as Lila's gaze bore into her soul. What do we do? She asked quietly, bravely. I wanted to scream that we should run, to flee from whatever fate awaited us. But Lila raised a delicate hand, and everything froze. Time, the very fabric of the moment, held its breath. Listen, Lila urged, there is darkness surrounding your family, shaped by choices made long ago. You must uncover those buried truths hidden in memory. Only then can we be freed. The gravity of her words weighed heavily upon me. Judgment hung in the air like an invisible cloak, and realization began to seep in, mixing dread with curiosity. I had always thought family secrets were a tapestry woven with love, but what if it was threads of pain and retribution? Mom! Amelia's voice shook me from my thoughts. Does that mean we can help her? Can we fix it? I looked down at Amelia, her face a canvas of worry, yearning to make sense of this chaotic reality. Her trust in me, so pure, sharpened the pain of my own uncertainty. How could I explain that we might be wading into waters deeper and darker than we were prepared for? That was the moment the front door rattled, abruptly interrupting everything. A loud bang echoed through the house, the sound reverberating like a gunshot stabbing into the thick, stifling air. Mom! Amelia squeaked, her grip tightening around me. Stay here! I shouted, turning towards the front door as dread coiled in my gut. I was torn between Lila's delicate plea and the urgency clawing at my instinct to protect. Suddenly, the door burst open, revealing a figure that seemed both familiar and foreign at once. My heart dropped as I recognized the silhouette. Mom, we need to leave now. It was Jake, my estranged brother. But the look on his face told me more than words ever could, a desperate urgency mixed with fear and the unspeakable weight of denial. Jake, what are you doing here? I asked, torn between relief and confusion. I came to warn you, his voice faltered. You have to listen to me. They're coming for you. As the specters of past and present collided around me, I felt the walls of my own reality narrowing. Anxiety shot through me like lightning, igniting the dark corners of our family history I had thought were sealed forever. What truths lurked in the shadows, and who was coming for Amelia and me? The atmosphere thickened, and Lila's spirit hovered behind me, her silhouette flickering, a harbinger of the secrets we had yet to uncover. And deep down, in the pit of my stomach, I understood. The past had not just been buried, it was clawing its way back, demanding to be seen. An inescapable tension filled the room, reverberating off the walls like the echo of an unwelcome truth clawing at the surface. Jake stood there, a solid silhouette against the jagged remnants of our past, his eyes burdened with a haunting familiarity. "We need to move," he insisted, urgency twisting the corners of his mouth as if he were battling demons that were far more profound than me. "But I can't just leave," I replied, casting a worried glance at Lila, still lingering ethereally near my shoulder, her expression a mixture of concern and expectancy. "She's here for a reason, Mom. What do you mean?" Amelia's small voice interjected, innocence spilling into the torrent of fear that surrounded us. My heart ached as I drew her closer, feeling the warmth radiate from her small frame, an anchor amidst the chaos. "Listen to your brother," Lila urged, her voice a whisper now, laced with an urgency that hinted at danger lurking just outside the periphery of our lives. "You must heed the warnings of the living." The shadows in Jake's eyes deepened. "We don't have time for this," he snapped, frustration coloring his tone. "There are people who want to hurt us. I didn't come all this way to lose you again, especially not now." His words draped a painful nostalgia over me, an echo of lost years and buried resentments. Anger bubbled up as I shot back. "You think showing up now makes everything okay? You left us behind when we needed you most. I was just trying to protect you." Jake shot back, his fists clenching. "You don't understand what's at stake. You think I wanted to walk away? I had no choice." Amelia's tiny fingers dug into my arm, sensing the storm brewing between us. I could see her confusion mirrored in Jake's eyes, a shared blame over decisions that shaped our shattered family. Lila sighed softly, perhaps offering unspoken guidance, reminding me that, even in this moment of turmoil, I had to lead us through. "Jake, just tell us what's going on," I pleaded, desperate for clarity amidst conflicting emotions. "Who's coming for us? And why now?" He took a slow, shaky breath, his gaze darting to Lila, then back to me. "They think you know something. Something about the past, something that could ruin everything for them." "Who?" My voice cracked, panic clawing at my throat. Each word now tied to a surreal tapestry of dread that had begun to weave itself around us. Instead of answering, he reached into his jacket pocket, pulling out an old flip phone, the screen cracked and faded but still functional. "I got this message just before I came here. Listen." He fumbled to find the voice memo, pressing play with anxious fingers. A crackling voice emerged, low and menacing, almost drowned out by static. "We're closer than you think. Don't bother hiding. We'll find what belongs to us, and we don't need anyone getting in our way. Not even family. As the last words hung heavy in the air like a shroud, dread pulled in my stomach, alien and familiar all at once. I turned to Lila, searching for answers in her translucent gaze. "What does this mean?" "The truth is the key," she breathed fiercely, her form shimmering with an intensity that nearly bore down on me. "You must confront the shadows of your family. Only then can you protect Amelia. You cannot run away from what you truly know." The urgency in her tone compelled me, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the fear. "But how do we find out what to confront?" Before she could respond, the sudden bang of the kitchen window caused us all to jump, sending shards of tension skittering across the floor. I jumped in front of Amelia, my heart racing, as a chill swept through the room, freezing my breath in my throat. "What was that?" Jake hissed, eyes darting to the window. The once inviting darkness now felt like an ominous veil, concealing threats just out of reach. Lila turned toward the open window, her spectral form flickering like an old light about to go out. "They are close," she warned. "You must act fast. Find the journal. It holds the answers you seek." "Where?" I forced the words out, panic threatening to drown my voice. "Your mother's attic. There are secrets there that need to be revealed." In that moment, a steely resolve gripped my gut. I looked at Jake and then to Amelia, shielding her from the ever-pressing darkness. "We're going to have to face everything," I stated, my voice steadier than I felt. "Are you sure?" Jake asked, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. I nodded, fear coursing through me but mixed with the promise of discovery and liberation. We can't let the past continue to haunt us. We have to break this cycle. Jake took a tentative step closer, and to my surprise, he placed a hand on my shoulder, a gesture of fragile reconciliation. Okay, he acquiesced, his voice barely above a whisper. We'll do this together. But just as we began to turn, the front door creaked open wider, the sound echoing like a death knell throughout the house. Shadows crept into the threshold, powerful and foreboding. Something inside me broke, the threads of unease tangled tightly, warning us that whatever lurked beyond that door was waiting not just to destroy, but to claim. Hide! I shouted instinctively, pushing Amelia behind me as Jake's eyes widened in panic. Lila began to fade, her warnings merging with the sharpness of my breathless heart. The shadows stretched further, reaching out toward us, whispering unearthly promises and demands that clawed at my sanity. And in that moment, I realized that the past was not merely beckoning. It was breaking through, and we were standing at the precipice of uncovering a truth that might just tear us apart. A flash of movement drew my attention, and I squinted into the darkness, heart pounding. Who's there? I demanded, but the only response was the threatening rustle of shadows, an unsettling promise of confrontation hovering just within sight. And as I braced myself for whatever truth lay ahead, I sensed a chilling presence, the feeling of being watched, of danger lurking in the spaces between breaths. Then I noticed a small, crumpled note fluttering to the ground, its ink smeared but still legible. Trust no one. My heart sank. What had I gotten us into? The chill from the shadows recoiled, but my heart continued to race as I picked up the note, trembling fingers brushing against its coarse surface. Trust no one, it read again, and an icy realization washed over me. This was the kind of warning that could splinter relationships and shatter the fragile trust we were trying to piece together. Mom, what does it say? Amelia's wide eyes searched my face, her innocence a stark contrast to the chaos that surrounded us. I forced a smile, trying to shield her from the weight of uncertainty bearing down on my shoulders. Just a reminder to be careful, I murmured, tucking the note into my pocket, hoping its ominous message wouldn't linger in her mind. The front door creaked eerily, as though beckoning the dark figures that loomed just beyond its threshold. We need to go, Jake urged quietly, his earlier resolve faltering at the sense of imminent danger. Without hesitation, I nodded and turned toward the attic stairs, aware that each step up was a departure from safety. I whispered a soft encouragement to Amelia, pressing my palm against her back, guiding her up each creaking step, while Jake trailed behind us, his hesitant footsteps echoing my own mounting dread. Once we reached the attic, the atmosphere shifted, thick with dust and memories. Sunlight struggled to spill through the grimy window, casting a dim glow across old boxes and forgotten relics of a life once lived. An unsettling stillness enveloped us, amplifying the noise of our breath as if the attic knew of the secrets yet to be uncovered. Where would it be? I wondered aloud, scanning the space for anything that felt significant or foreboding. My eyes landed on a weathered trunk, its latch rusted but intact. Maybe there? Jake suggested, breaking into my reverie as he motioned toward the trunk. I nodded, feeling a surge of determination. Help me, I said. Together, we approached it, and with a shared effort, we pried open the lid. A plume of dust erupted, causing us to cough. As the air settled, I caught my breath, peering inside. Wrapped in yellowing cloth was an ancient journal, its spine cracked and fragile. I hesitated, feeling the weight of time pressing against my fingers, inching closer to history. This could be it, I whispered, pulling it into my lap. Before I could open it, Jake's voice interrupted the silence, tense with an undercurrent of fear. Did you hear that? My heart stuttered. Hear what? But then, we heard it, to a soft rustling from the corner of the attic, where shadows pooled thicker, gathering like storm clouds, waiting for the right moment to unleash their fury. I pulled Amelia close, fear gripping me as I instinctively aimed to shield her. Stay behind me, I commanded, my voice trembling but firm. Maybe it's just the wind, Jake suggested, though the tremor in his voice belied his doubts. No, I said, shaking my head. It's something else. That's when I noticed a silhouette shifting among the boxes, a fleeting form that seemed both familiar and alien, slipping in and out of the half-light, leaving me unnerved. Is someone there? I called into the murky depths, my voice wavering yet defiant. The figure hesitated, and then a soft whisper drifted towards us, chilling the very marrow in my bones. You shouldn't have come here, it spoke, voice melodic yet laced with a foreboding that wrapped around my heart like a noose. Who are you? Jake demanded, stepping forward resolutely, though the tremor in his hands gave him away. In that moment, a glimmer flickered in the corner of my eye, and I turned to see Lilith's apparition appear, her face strained with urgency. You must read the journal now. It holds the truth. The danger is real. The figure retreated deeper into shadows, words dissipating like smoke on the wind, but I felt the urgency pulsating through Lila's transparent form. With shaky hands I opened the journal, the pages crackling under the weight of revelation. Words spilled out, recounting memories of secrets hidden and lives intertwined. The entries grew darker with each page, unearthing betrayals that ran deep within our families. Lineage. Then came the mention of the Watchers, an entity devoted to preserving a legacy of fear and control. Just as I grasped a hint of clarity, the attic door swung open with a sinister creaking sound, illuminating a figure silhouetted against the fading light of day, a stranger clad in darkness, with eyes that blazed like embers. Lila cried out, a desperate warning escaping her lips, but it was too late. As the figure stepped fully into the attic, I faltered, heart racing with recognition. Mother? A voice, a familiar cadence that sent shockwaves through my core, echoed within the room. The figure grinned, malevolent delight dancing across their features. Did you think you could escape your heritage? All the air left my lungs, and in that instant, I realized the shadows weren't just lurking behind me. They were part of me, woven tightly into the fabric of everything I thought I understood. A truth long buried clawed its way into the light, threatening to consume us all. The revelation hung in the air like a thick fog, choking off all thoughts, all words. Mother, how could it be? The person I had spent years trying to forget had returned, her presence resurrecting all the fears I had buried under layers of grief and anger. The shadows creeping across the attic now felt alive, writhing and tightening around me as if they were pressing my heart to a standstill. Mother? The word escaped my lips, barely recognizable even to me. I glanced back at Jake and Amelia. Their expressions mirrored my confusion and dread reflected in their wide eyes. You've come back, I said, my voice trembling beneath the weight of disbelief. Did you truly think I wouldn't? Her smile was disarming yet sharp, like a blade hidden beneath the surface of a placid lake. You can't run from what you are. You need to embrace it. What are you talking about? I pushed back, unwilling to accept her taunts. I've built a life away from you. I don't need you. Not now, not ever. A flicker of disappointment flashed across her eyes, and for a moment, it felt like I was peering into the abyss, a dark void that had once swallowed so much of our family's history. You mistake my return for a threat, but it's an invitation. You have your own power, you just refuse to see it. The shadows whispered, slithering around her legs like eager snakes, coaxing me to step closer. I shook my head violently, my heart racing, unwilling to be drawn back into that world. My life does not belong to you. I've given everything to protect my daughter from your legacy. Moments melted into each other as silence fell, thickening the air around us. The journal slipped from my grasp, falling open on the attic floor, pages fluttering as if desperate to share their secrets. Lila's worried gaze flicked between my mother and me, a silent plea in her eyes urging me to remember everything we had faced together. Don't ignore the truth, sweetheart. My mother leaned closer, her voice dripping with an unsettling insistence. All your resistance will only draw them closer. Join me, and together we can reshape our destiny against the Watchers. No. The word burst from me, stronger than I felt. I won't let you drag me into your darkness. In that instant, Amelia's small hand crept into mine, grounding me amidst the chaos. I felt her warmth, her life force fueling the flickering spark of courage I had thought extinguished. Mom, please don't listen to her, she whispered, the innocence in her plea reminding me what truly mattered. But the shadowy figure just laughed lightly, an echo of cruelty that rang through the gust of cold air. Oh, darling Amelia. Your mother has always deemed herself a protector, but she's unraveling. Just look at her. No. I shouted again, almost pleading, as I turned to Jake. We need to leave. Now, but behind me, my mother took a slow, deliberate step forward. You're free to go, of course. But I assure you, the danger won't wait for your indecision. The Watchers are always watching. They'll come for you, just as they did for me. The contours of the shadows tightened, the weight of her words settling in my chest. There was so much unspoken history there, hearts caught in a web woven over generations. Amelia tugged at my hand, her eyes wide with fear, and I could sense Jake's silent strength diffusing as he positioned himself protectively in front of us, tension coiling in the air like a spring ready to snap. Stay away from her, he shouted, his voice a mighty roar against the suffocating darkness. Oh, darling boy, my mother crooned mockingly, her gaze darting over him, then locking onto me. You have no idea how deeply entangled you all are in this legacy. The Watchers won't simply back off. You think you can shield your daughter? You've already lost so much. My breath caught in my throat, as a pulse of realization washed over me. She wasn't just speaking of our fractured bonds, she was referencing my own fears, my losses, the fragments of the past that had shaped me. As her eyes bore into mine, I saw it clearly, a hint of desperation mingled with her wicked grin. Join or fall, there's no other way. And oh, I yelled as the journal flipped open once more, pages fluttering like trapped wings, the words screaming for my attention. But just as I leaned to read them, I felt a hand land on my shoulder, a presence I didn't recognize. I turned and gazed into the haunting eyes of a man standing just outside the doorway, features obscured by shadows that danced threateningly around him. His voice resonated like a thunderclap, cutting through the tension. It's time to choose, dear cousin. The familial connection struck me like a hammer, splintering the illusion of safety we had just begun to build. I wavered, heart racing at the crushing weight of choices laid bare before me as darkness festered around us. Who are you? I rasped, panic edging my voice. He stepped forward, and for a heartbeat, I thought I could make out sympathy flickering beneath his shadowy aura. The truth isn't as simple as you believe. Your family isn't just cursed, it's evolving, and you have a role to play. The breath in my lungs stuttered. Choices loomed on every side, entwined like the roots of ancient trees, suffocating yet beautiful in their complexity. And as I glanced around at the frightened faces of my beloved, alarmed that any one of us might follow the wrong path, I realized the shadows weren't waiting for answers. They were rising, ready to swallow us whole. The scream echoed through the attic like a cruel wail from the past, reverberating off the walls and ricocheting into my soul. Time seemed to stretch painfully, and within that suspended heartbeat, the world sharpened around me. Lilamy sweet, fierce Lila was no longer just a child caught in the chaos of generational curses. She was thrust into the crosshairs of my deepest fears. Mom! Her voice cracked, filled with despair as she clawed at my resolve. Help me! Each plea clawed through the fog clouding my thoughts. I snapped my head toward her, seeing the terror etched across her small face, eyes wide and shimmering with tears. From my peripheral vision, I noticed Amelia and Jake shifting like shadows, each holding their breath as if the very act of exhaling might break the fraying thread of our fragile sanctuary. Stay here! I hollered, the command erupting uncharacteristically from the pit of my stomach, fueled by an instinct so primal it was impossible to ignore. I turned once more to confront my mother, my heart hammering against my ribs as it fought to escape the gravity of this moment. You will not take her from me. Her smile had transformed into something darker, an expression that spoke of countless manipulations, of lingering wounds that refused to heal. It's not me, darling. The Watchers thrive on fear. If you want to protect her, you need to embrace what lies within you. I won't be like you, I spat back, every syllable punctuated with the ferocity of a mother's love. I refuse to let your darkness seep into her life. Just as her laughter twisted deliciously in the air like a venomous vine, Lila's frantic cries blossomed again. Mom! Please! The shadows stirred, eager shadows that flickered with laughter, wrapping around my ankles, testing my resolve. With each heartbeat, they drew closer, whispered snippets of old tales flooding my mind, the day my mother had vanished into the night, the violent storm that had howled outside our home, drowning out Lila's baby cries as I swaddled her in cotton blankets, desperate for some semblance of comfort. "Remember who you are," my mother taunted, her voice a soft caress that turned jagged. "You're more than you believe. Join me, and we can take them down together." "No!" It surged from my chest in a primal scream, cutting through the chains of despair binding my thoughts. "You're lying. You've always lied." Glimmering shadows twisted and crested like waves at the edge of my sanity, and yet through it all, Amelia stepped forward, breaking the sanctuary of my body with her courage. "Mom! Lila needs you." Her conviction pierced the chaos, transforming my agonizing disbelief into flickers of hope. Suddenly, the figure standing behind my mother shifted, the contours of his face illuminating with the muted light of the attic. "You don't know what's at stake." The man's voice was tinged with urgency, raw emotion bubbling beneath the surface. "The Watchers have taken more than you realize. They will come for her, for all of you, soon." "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice cracking as dread pooled in the depths of my stomach like sediment forming in dark waters. "Tobias," he replied, stepping cautiously into the light. Clarity filtered through the shadows, revealing the shape of his face, one layered with lines of grief familiar to me. I was lost once, too. I had to fight to reclaim myself, and now you must do the same. But my gaze flicked back to Lila, standing stock-still, clutching Jake's arm while fright rippled through her. Two worlds collided within that space, and the threads of my fractured past twined tighter around our present moment, asking far more of me than I thought I could give. "Listen," Jake said softly, drawing me back to the present where warmth emanated from his body. "You need to protect Lila above all else. Whatever your mother is offering, it's a lie." His gaze flicked from my mother to me, a silent pact flowing between us. The shadows recoiled slightly at his words, as if they could sense the flicker of defiance amongst us. But my mother roared, drawing power from centuries of despair. "You think you can shield her?" The very air thickened as the dark aura around her pulsed and twisted, and a grotesque smile creased her lips. "You're setting her up for failure." "Stop!" I shouted, more at myself than at her. "This isn't how it ends." Just then, the journal lay open, its pages fluttering wildly as if caught in a storm, begging to be read. The sight ignited a spark of recognition in me. "It holds the key, doesn't it?" My breath hitched. Each word, each spell, was a part of the legacy I had fought so hard to escape, a dark inheritance. But perhaps, just perhaps, it could be the anchor I needed. "I won't let this go unchecked," I whispered resolutely, fusing my gaze back onto my daughter. "I will fight for you." And as those words left my lips, time resumed its relentless march forward. With a final, anguished call from Lila, the attic plunged into darkness, the shadows coiling tighter, ready to seize every drop of hope left in the room, and once again, everything erupted into chaos. I stepped forward into the unknown, determined to grasp that flicker of illumination amid the shadows swirling around us. But a thunderous clap echoed from the doorway, leaving me stunned and paralyzed. "You're not alone," Tobias said again, his eyes blazing with the fire of battles yet fought. "But once you choose, nothing will ever be the same." I felt the weight of those words squeeze painfully in my chest as the shadows surged forward, a desperate whisper trailing behind me, "Choose wisely." And suddenly, the air went still as the shadows lunged forth, blocking my escape not only for me but my daughter too. The moment stretched, filling the void with crushing familiarity. In that overwhelming silence, a choice materialized within me, flickering like dying embers in need of rekindling. There would be no turning back. The world around me faded into a disorienting blur as I stood at the precipice of make-or-break moments. The shadows loomed, a living entity closing in around us, eager to consume the light that had flickered in my heart, a light ignited by Lila's innocent pleas and the warmth of familial bonds. "Mom?" Lila's voice trembled, a soft beacon that cut through the darkness like a razor blade. "What's happening?" The weight of her innocence drove fresh urgency into my veins. With a grit I didn't know I possessed, I tightened my grip on the remnants of hope swirling inside of me, forcing myself to look past my mother, past the encroaching shadows, directly into Lilith's eyes. "It's going to be okay, sweet girl. I promise." Tobias shifted beside me. His mere presence was a balm. "Remember what you've read, what you know," he urged softly, as if guiding me through a dense fog. "Embrace it. Don't fight it." The journal fluttered like a trapped butterfly, the ornate cover glinting with otherworldly light, urging me forward. A pulse of determination surged through my heart, and I found myself stepping closer to it, emboldened both by shadows and connections woven through generations. "The Watchers prey on fear, right?" I whispered, my mind racing as if training to outrun destiny itself. "Then we will show them we are not afraid." From the corners of my vision, I saw Jake and Amelia, their resolve anchoring my shaky spirit. Each held their ground with unwavering strength, solid rocks amidst the encroaching storm. Sensing their support, a flicker ignited within me, a reminder of the moments we had shared, the laughter around the dinner table, the warmth that had blossomed even in the darkest corners of our lives. Those memories became my armor against this all-consuming dread. As I stood before the journal, the shadows screeched in protest. The darkness writhed around us, a swirling tempest ensconcing my mother, as she struggled to maintain control. "You will never take her from me, Claire." "I will not let you," she hissed, and her voice curled into something sinister. "Watch me," I responded through steely determination, fingers brushing against the pages, sifting through the chaotic remnants of spells waiting to be unleashed. Each word vibrating in my mind felt like a double-edged sword, echoing of power and peril. "Together, we are stronger." But as I began to whisper incantations, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if thrust into disarray by the very essence of my conviction. Lila, clenching Jake's hand tighter, eyes locked onto mine, shone with a flicker of hope that pierced through the dark, and then it happened. The shadows shifted, flowing like ink across parchment, swallowing the light whole. I stumbled back, breath caught in my throat, as Tobias steadied me. "You mustn't show them fear," he urged, urgency blazing in his voice. "They'll fester on it like a wound." From the depths of the shadows unfurled a figure filled with malevolence, me mother swirling, her presence an intoxicating dark force filled with pain and twisted promises. "Do you think you can rid yourself of this legacy?" she taunted, each word relocating itself to the deepest crevices of my psyche. "It is within you. You cannot escape it. You are mine. No!" I shouted at her, the conviction swelling in my veins as I fought against the tide of despair she wielded, fighting against generations of pain. "I am not yours. I am Lilith's mother. I choose to protect her. Whatever darkness you think you possess, you will not transfer it to her." The shadows paused, quivering as if caught in my words. Lilith's small figure quaked from the turbulence, and an almost unbearable urge to shield her gripped my heart. "Lila, do you feel it?" I cried, desperate to reignite her own strength. "We can fight together. We're stronger than any curse." "Mom," she whispered, her own voice tremulous but firm. "I'm scared. I know," I murmured, reaching for her. But just then, a tremor shot through the attic as a new noise cut through the tense Iona, thundering knock reverberating from the attic door. The sound was deafening, almost angry, a force that didn't allow for hesitation. "What is that?" Amelia gasped, pushing closer to Jake as the air around us sparked with tension. "I don't know," I said, heart racing. But it carried a weight that felt hauntingly familiar. A reminder of something that had been buried, veiled beneath layers of fear and loss. With the doors shuddering against the walls, the shadows pulsed with fury, and I sensed a shift. The boundary between our world and whatever lay beyond was growing thinner. "We have to," but before I could formulate a plan, the door burst open with a terrifying roar, light flooding in like pure salvation. I squinted against the brilliance, clutching Lilith's hand tightly. "Run!" Tobias shouted, his voice slicing through the confusion like a sword. But just as we turned to flee, the light illuminated a figure framed in the doorway, an image of someone I thought was lost to me forever. My breath caught, a raw wave of shock sweeping through. "Claire," the figure uttered, voice threading through time, igniting a desperate flicker of recognition. There stood my mother, or at least someone who looked exactly like her, but she was younger, radiant and untainted by shadows. Mom? I breathed, the world around me distorting as time warped and twisted into an impossible spiral. What have you done? She gasped, eyes wide with urgency. The shadows writhed, recoiling from this unexpected light, and I could feel the fragile fabric of our reality hanging by a thread. Time stood still, and the gravitational pull of the moment hollowed out my insides. I was pointedly aware that I had no idea who this woman was or what her unexpected arrival meant for all of us, but deep within, I sensed it was the key. Choose now, Claire, Tobias' voice echoed through the chaos, his intensity ripping through the silence that had descended. You must choose who you will fight for. And as the shadows loomed in hunger and the figure in the doorway illuminated potential paths, I found myself teetering on the cusp of revelations that threatened to reshape not only our fate, but the legacy that had chased me relentlessly. Claire! Look at me! The younger version of my mother called as I stood frozen, grappling with the knot of emotions swelling in my chest. Am not the enemy, trust me. In that electrifying moment, the very essence of my existence twisted, drawing me into a whirlwind of uncertainty. With Lila's hand in mine, staring into both shadows and light, I realized that the choice was not just about fighting. It was about understanding who I truly was and, ultimately, who I chose to protect. But the shadows laughed, and the moment slipped dangerously from my grasp. The path I would choose unraveled before us, echoing with the resounding heartbeat of my decision. Time hung perilously in the balance, and I knew one misstep could lead to devastation. As I stood at the crossroads, propelled by love but tethered to fear, I saw my choice magnified in the chaos, and the realization gripped my heart with a paralyzing dread, because whatever choice I made, it was about to tear my world apart in ways I never predicted. The world teetered on the edge of chaos, the air thick with uncertainty and the weight of decisions yet to be made. The lingering glow of the figure in the doorway flickered like a candle in a storm, illuminating memories from a past I wished I could rewrite. My mother's face, younger yet eerily familiar, stirred up emotions buried deep within the fear, longing, and an aching need for understanding. Why are you here? I shouted, my voice rising above the cacophony of shadows thrumming with anger. Lila squeezed my hand tighter, her pulse sinking with mine, a fragile tether between hope and despair. Because we are connected, Claire, she spoke urgently, eyes bright with an intensity that called to something deep in my soul. You don't know everything. You need to learn the truth about who you really are, and who you were meant to become. Her words curled around my heart, igniting old yearnings I had buried with the memories of our family's fractured past. Who was I, really? What legacy did I inherit, and why did it feel more like a sentence than a birthright? The shadows recoiled from the light she brought, but I could feel the malevolence within them surging, unwilling to relinquish their hold on the life force radiating from Lila and me. Listen to her, Claire, Tobias urged, his tone laden with desperation. It's not just about stopping the shadows, it's about embracing your heritage, understanding what it means to wield that power wisely. Power? I echoed, disbelief lacing my voice. Is this power worth the price? The pain? Just look at my mother. I gestured wildly, fingers trembling as they pointed toward the swirling darkness that danced around my older mother. What good has it done her? She's trapped. Lose sight of her and the shadows win, the younger version of my mother implored, voice sharp with urgency. You have to decide who you want to be, Claire. Don't let the darkness make that decision for you. The weight of her words settled over me like a shroud. In that moment, I glimpsed the terrifying reality of my lineage, the very possibility that I could tread the same treacherous path, that fate could cruelly align me with my mother's duality of light and dark. As memories of laughter and warmth danced through my mind, I could not ignore the echo of shadows lurking at the edges, waiting for a moment of weakness to envelop me whole. Mom, I don't understand. Lila's voice pierced through my scattered thoughts, her innocence a balm amid the tumult. Are we really going to fight her? I turned to face her, the desperation in her eyes mirroring my own. I could see the flickering hope battling fear deep within her. Lila, it's not about fighting, I whispered, though the tremor in my voice betrayed my uncertainty. It's about standing firm and showing them we're not afraid of what they may take from us. Fear is the enemy, Tobias reminded us with fierce conviction. We cannot allow it to control our choices or our fate. The words lingered, coating the air between us. It was then that I understood. The real battle lay not solely in confronting the darkness around me, but in confronting the darkness within me too. It stirred like a tempest, begging to be acknowledged, threatening to pull me beneath the weight of expectation and legacy. Swallowing hard, a cautious resolve began to bloom. Together, I breathed, looking into Lilith's eyes, we can face whatever comes. You are my light, my guiding star. Together, she repeated, each syllable wrapping around us like a vow, and then, without warning, a shadow lunged forward with a bone-chilling screech, piercing through the air like a knife. It sought to sever the bond we had forged, to extinguish our flickering light. The darkness curled around me, tightening its grip as if to dig its claws into my very soul. The younger version of my mother stepped forward, undeterred by the impending attack. Listen, Claire! I can help you, but before she could finish, the shadows surged, wrapping around her, seizing the moment to block light and sound alike. No! I yelled, a scream of sheer panic bursting from my throat. With a surge of adrenaline, I threw myself toward her, the impulse to protect and escape colliding within me. But as I reached her, my own estranged mother's essence enveloped me. I felt threads of pain and love woven together, a tapestry of all that was lost and everything that might still be found. In that instant, clarity struck, a vision of choices unmade, futures stretching beyond shadows, and I suddenly grasped the delicate balance between legacy and freedom. Let her go! I shouted with newfound determination, channeling every ounce of strength into my voice. We are more than your darkness. The shadows hesitated, as if my declaration held weight, the air swelling with latent power as I felt Lila beside me, her warmth radiating through the chaos. I could see glimpses of the younger version of my mother fighting against the darkness, light breaking through the tendrils that sought to claim her. But just as I thought we were gaining an upper hand, the very fabric of our reality began to unravel violently. The shadows recoiled, retreating only to swirl together menacingly, forming a vortex that pulled us all toward the depths of darkness. My breath caught in my throat as a dreadful realization washed over me. Is this what you meant? Are you trying to consume us? I yelled into the tumult, adrenaline surging. Not us, the shadows hissed back, the voice a thunderous growl. You. And with that singular word, a harrowing link was forged in the air, a connection to everything I had tried to fight against. There was a distinct and unsettling clarity in grasping that the darkness wanted me wholly, and somehow, it had always been the fate that awaited me. Claire, focus! Tobias' voice sliced through the murky edges of my mind. Break it, overcome it. Don't become part of it. With Lila next to me, holding on fiercely, the light within me surged in response, pushing back against the tide threatening to drown us. The battle was not over. It was merely the precursor to discovering what I was truly made of, love mingling with fear, courage entwined with uncertainty. And in that chaotic moment suspended in time, a new truth began echoing through me. I could shape my own destiny, but at a cost I still did not understand. The shadows grew restless around us, more aggressive, their dark tendrils coiling like serpents ready to strike. I was aware that another decision awaited me, but this time, there was a heavy sense of urgency. The night was far from over, and whatever lay ahead held the promise of revelation, or unraveling. Then, from the depths of the chaos, came a whisper of voice from the shadows that sent a shiver racing down my spine. You think you're so brave, Claire. But you'll soon learn bravery often comes with a price. Are you truly willing to pay it? As the words echoed around me, the sense of impending doom blossomed from an already tight coil deep within, leaving me standing on the precipice of a choice that could unravel everything I had worked for. The air crackled with tension, and as I braced for what came next, the harrowing truth dawned on me. I had only begun to scratch the surface of the challenges ahead, and the final reckoning was yet to come. The air hung heavy with a silence that seemed to echo the last words of the shadows, wrapping around us like a shroud of impending darkness. My heart raced, the pit of my stomach twisting with uncertainty. Lilith's grip was firm, yet I could feel her fear, a palpable tremor threading through her fingers intertwined with mine. "Claire, we need to move." Tobias' urgent whisper sliced through the stillness. I could see the resolve in his eyes, unwavering yet tinged with concern. But where? In a world that felt both familiar and alien, where could we turn when the very ground beneath our feet threatened to collapse? Right. I stammered, the enormity of what lay before us staggering. Did I dare to confront this darkness? Did I have the strength to wield the legacy I had inherited? Suddenly, a sharp cry echoed from somewhere within the vortex of Shadow's, a chilling sound of despair woven with a glimmer of recognition. "Mom!" My heart plummeted as I realized the voice belonged to Lila. I followed the sound, looking wild-eyed for her face among the chaos. "Lila!" I yelled back, desperate to bridge the ever-widening chasm of darkness between us. "Hold on to my light. I'm coming." But the shadows writhed, pulling at her with merciless strength, and a new wave of dread washed over me. Each breath felt like a desperate gasp amid the rising tide of darkness that threatened to swallow us. "Stay close to me, Claire." Lila's voice brightened against the gloom, but I could hear the underlying tremor. "I'm not going anywhere without you." In that moment, I steeled myself, channeling every ounce of determination I could muster. "Together," I whispered, both to her and to myself, reaffirming the bond we shared, a bond forged in light yet tested by shadows. Before I could move further, the darkness surged forward again, now expanding and morphing into shapes I feared might block my path to her. Faces formed within the shadows, familiar faces twisted in agony, expressions fixed in despair. "Do you see them, Claire?" A voice whispered, resonating from the abyss, slithering into my mind. "Can you face the grief they carry? Are you willing to confront your past to save your future?" I stumbled back, shaken by the vivid pain reflected on their faces. Each moment they existed in that suffocating gloom was a reminder of what I stood to lose. I was not merely battling against the shadows. I was facing the very essence of my fears and regrets, the part of me that felt unworthy of love and connection. "Fight it, Claire!" Tobias exclaimed, his words igniting a faint spark of hope within the tempest. "You carry their light inside you. Use it to break their hold." Lila's face emerged through the darkened void, framed by the fierce determination shining in her eyes. "You have to believe, Mom. You can't lose yourself, not now. I'm counting on you." My heart ached for her, for the trust she placed in me when everything felt precarious. In that seemingly insurmountable moment of pain and fear, I called forth the memories of laughter shared, of whispers in the night that spoke of dreams and futures untold. I held on to the warmth of our shared moments, the love that transcended even this darkened storm. "Together. We have to fight together," I shouted, rallying every ounce of strength left within me. My voice echoed louder than the shadows, fierce and unwavering. As I focused on Lila, envisioning the light that bound us, the shadows groaned, a pained symphony clashing around me. The faces within twisted in agony, but I could feel the truth etched in my heart. The power of our connection was stronger than the darkness that sought to break it. The shadows recoiled momentarily, but I could feel their resolve regathering. They were relentless, like a storm refusing to be quelled, wrapping around the remnants of my mother's essence. I could sense that she too was battling against something more profound than just the shadows. They were feeding off of her fear, her regrets, and her longing for the light she had lost. "Mom, I can feel you!" I cried out, reaching toward her soul. "Together, we can shatter this darkness. Whatever it is that binds you." With a surge of newfound resolve intertwining with determination, I stretched my hand toward her, not only for her sake but for my own. The tendrils of shadows writhed as my light pierced through the chaos, a beacon of hope amidst despair. I could feel the warmth of connection glowing brightly, encouraging me to push forward, to embrace the darkness not as an end, but a new beginning. But just as our light reached toward the depths of despair to illuminate the path to freedom, the shadows shrieked in rage. They pulsed violently, swirling to form a towering figure, an embodiment of darkness cloaked in the very fears I sought to dispel. "Your light is futile, Claire. This is merely the prelude to your true awakening." The figure jeered, its voice echoing like thunder from the abyss. Your decisions will come with a cost, a price you cannot fully comprehend until it's too late. The revelation sent chills through my spine, igniting a cold dread that threatened to consume me whole. I could feel Lilith's eyes on me, conveying an urgency that transcended words. It was a reminder of the stakes of the legacy I was bound to navigate. Just then, between the murmurs of pain and anguish, a slice of silver light broke through the enveloping shadows, illuminating the swirling chaos. I could barely distinguish between the dark and the light, but in that moment amidst the cacophony of uncertainty I also caught a glimpse of something deeper, something stirring beneath the surface. "Mom, listen!" Lilith's courage rang like a bell. "We can change everything. We can reconstruct our legacy together." That glimmer of hope surged within me, kindling a yearning fierce enough to challenge the encroaching shadows. But as I prepared to step forward, a harrowing truth settled heavy in my gut. The price of this legacy would not be light, nor would it be easily regained, and my fate was inexorably tied to the shadows I wasn't quite ready to confront. "Are you willing to pay it, Claire?" The figure murmured again, its voice oozing malevolence, pressing down like a weight. As I steadied my breath, bracing for whatever tumult lay ahead, I felt the weight of my choices heavy on my shoulders. The storm was far from over. With a heart pounding at the precipice of the unknown, a shocking revelation blossomed in my mind. Perhaps the cost was not just within the shadows but also locked in the very depths of my soul, an unresolved link that bound my existence to both light and dark. And that realization terrified me, igniting the instinct to retreat. Yet now, there were more lives at stake than my own. As the darkness deepened, I locked eyes with Lilith, fierce resolve blossoming within us both. Whatever lay ahead, whatever choices I had to make, the weight of it all would rest upon my shoulders. I could feel the turning of fate's wheel, and with it, an unyielding promise that whatever the price was to be paid, it would be done together, even if the cost was more than I could ever imagine. As the shadows churned around us, tightening their grip like a vice, I felt time disintegrate into nothingness. The walls of the attic closed in, pulsating with an energy that made me feel both small and immense. Whispers of doubt began to creep into my mind, the warnings from the malevolent figure echoing as they blended with the cacophony of memories. Yet amidst the rising terror, there remained a flickering ember of hope within me, ignited by Lila's steadfast presence. "Mom, we can end this," she urged, her voice steady, a stark contrast to the chaos that roiled in our surroundings. The shadows pulsated, seething and swirling, as if they could sense our unity, our defiance. "Together," I echoed, urgency flooding my voice. We weren't powerless. Somehow, together, we were stronger than the dark that sought to consume us, from the legacy that had loomed like a specter over our family for too long. I had spent years trying to shield Amelia from a past I didn't fully understand, from a darkness I thought I had evaded. But in that moment, something beyond fear trembled in my heart, a deep-rooted acceptance that we needed to confront the truth. As I locked eyes with Lila, the connection between us flickered alive like the thin thread of light that tethered hope to despair. "I will not let you take her!" I shouted, feeling my voice rise above the storm, a clarion call resonating through the darkness. "The shadows do not define us. This legacy does not bind us." With each word, the shadows writhed violently, a tempest of fury and rage against our burgeoning light. But Lila remained anchored beside me, her hand clasped tightly in my own, our shared strength fueling a rippling tide of courage that surged through me. Tobias stood firm at our backs, bolstering our resolve as he facing the shadows with silent determination. I, in that heartbeat of clarity, the journal, still open to its damning pages, pulsed with an energy that demanded to be embraced. "The truth resides in here," I said, my voice trembling yet resolute. "It will set us free." I stepped forward, Lilith's fingers entwined with mine, grounding me even as the shadows lunged. I felt their ghostly cold breath against my skin, an insidious temptation to give in, to surrender to the ease of darkness. But all of it fell flat against the steady beat of my heart, the powerful love I felt for my daughter, my resolve sharpening into focus. I grasped the journal's pages, allowing the words to seep into my soul like a healing balm, the memories unlocking beneath my fingers. Ancient spells, family stories of despair mingled with threads of hope, moments when darkness was defeated not by avoidance, but by confronting it head-on. Together we rewrite our story, I declared, channeling every ounce of emotion into the words as they rose from deep within. We honor our past, not as a chain, but as a testament to our resilience. With a wave of determination, I summoned the energy of those long-forgotten spells, my voice cascading through the shadows as I spoke the incantation that echoed through my lineage. The journal was the key, and with it, I wove a tapestry that would untangle our fates. The shadows convulsed violently, their essence flickering, struggling against the luminescence of our collective force. "You cannot fight your heritage!" The towering figure screamed in defiance, its menacing presence flickering like a candle in the wind. "But we're not fighting our heritage, you are reclaiming it!" I shouted back, feeling the energy pulse through me, igniting the space between us with a brilliant light that pierced through the shadows. In that moment, the world erupted into an explosion of contrasts. Light and dark clashed in a breathtaking dance. The attic transformed into a battlefield where legacies met destinies. Emotions surged, fear, love, grief colliding against the knowledge that we held the power to shape our future not as victims of circumstance, but as warriors of our own story. As I turned to face Lila, she nodded, her eyes filled with fierce determination. "We're going to break this cycle, Mom." Her voice rang true, certainty illuminating the darkened corners of our reality. And as the last word of the incantation slipped from my lips, the shadows recoiled, ripped apart by the overwhelming brilliance of my fierce love and Lilith's burning spirit. They writhed and dissolved into nothingness, revealing the vibrant brilliance of the truth hidden beneath. With the shadows banished, I collapsed to my knees, gasping for breath, feeling the weight of all the emotions, the fear, the pain, the love spill forth like a river. Lila fell beside me, clutching my arm as we breathed in the remnants of the storm that had finally subsided, leaving the attic flooded with a feeling of warmth and relief. Tobias stepped forward, his expression a mix of pride and understanding. "To embrace your heritage means to embrace every facet of it, the light and the dark alike. You did what many would not have the courage to do. You chose love." The air hummed with possibility, and for the first time, I truly understood the power of our legacy. We weren't bound by the shadows of our family. We were defined by the light we brought forth to meet the darkness. I could see glimpses of the past threading into the present, reshaping everything I thought I knew about who I was and my role in our family's story. As we emerged from the shadows, the burdens of guilt and fear fell away like autumn leaves, allowing new growth to blossom in their place. I looked at Lila, her face radiant in the light, and could finally see the woman she would become, the strong warrior who would face her own battles without the shadows of our family's past haunting her every step. "Mommy didn't think we could do it," Lila whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "But we did." I pulled her close, wrapping my arms around her fragile form, tears cascading down my cheeks. "We did it together, my love," I whispered into her hair, feeling my heart swell with a love so profound it chased away the remnants of fear and doubt. "And no darkness will ever take that from us again." As the weight of our journey settled into the spaces between us, I realized that we had transformed a legacy of despair into a legacy of hope. We had learned that light and darkness were parts of the same whole, something to be embraced as we forged onward together, unbreakable. With Lilith's warmth anchored against my side, I looked toward the now brightened attic, the future stretching before us like an uncharted path, teeming with possibility. The shadows may have once defined us, but they would no longer dictate who we were meant to be. Families do not just inherit their shadows, they choose to walk in the light. Together, we stepped forward into the dawn of a new beginning. And as I whispered a silent promise to our lineage, one that echoed through time, I realized that, from this day forward, we would always choose to be the light that chases away the dark, always together, I said firmly, my voice carrying the weight of our newfound freedom. "Always and forever," Lila replied, her spirit intertwined with mine, building a future where our light could flourish and thrive. And even as the sun rose beyond the horizon, illuminating our path, I knew it was only the beginning of our story, a story bound in love, strength, and the enduring power to rise above even the darkest of legacies.